Hello everyone. Welcome to the first video of my silly little channel. My name is Kyle, my friends call me Keel, and today I'm showcasing a little art project that I did a few days ago. I'm currently not very experienced in Photoshop and I'm hoping to learn how to use it a bit better over time. And so this project here is a drawing of a Pegasus that I did, and it's meant to help introduce me to some of the tools in Photoshop and just pretty much how to use them. So as you can see, I started off creating the general shape of the horse's body with a bunch of smaller shapes. At the beginning, I started with a bunch of circles to create the sections of the head and the sections of the body, and some more oval-like shapes to create the sections of the arms, the sections of the legs, and whatnot. All of the pre-sketching was done on one layer, and then I created another layer on top of that to start stitching the parts of the body together and make it look just generally more like the horse body that I wanted to achieve. Also, in addition to this being the first time I'm using a lot of these Photoshop tools that I haven't used before, it's also the first time I've created a horse-like, equestrian-like creature. Like, I'm just not very experienced with this kind of subject in art, and I thought it would be fun to experiment and try to develop something new. So of course, because this is something new that I haven't really drawn before, I think it's important for any artist or anyone trying to learn art or trying to learn how to draw a certain subject to absolutely use references. I just looked up horse and I used like the first pose I saw on Google Images. So yeah, of course use references when you are starting out on something new. So after I got done with the second sketch, the second layer of the Pegasus body, I switched my brush from the hard round pressure sensitive brush to a more soft round opaque, or not opaque, but transparent brush. And then I changed the color and started using that to kind of start creating the shading that I wanted to accomplish. And I started with a light blue color. Why? Well, I think that because I wanted the horse's body to be generally white, I think it's pretty common for blues to come up when a a white glossy object is being like enshrouded in shadow. Blue is one of those colors that comes up a lot. It kind of gives the horse's body a more pearlescent color. Like if you imagine a pearl, it's not just a white ball with black shadow. It has other colors, some rainbowy chromaticness in it. And that's what I was trying to accomplish by using different colors in the shading other than black. Like, as you can see, I started using yellow, and what's cool is when the yellow overlaid with the blue, it started creating green, because, of course, yellow plus blue creates a more greenish color, and that added more to the pearlescent color that I was going for. I also added some hints of red, as you can barely see around the nose and the back of the neck. And that was just to also add some more color to the design I was going for. And the black I was using, the shading, was mostly around, well, most of the shading would be around the outskirts of the body that you can see to kind of try and give the horse some depth. But I also added some shadows to other parts that would have depth due to musculature. Of course, even with a reference, I don't really know horse anatomy all that much, so I kind of assumed what horse musculature would look like. I gave a little bit of depth around the quadricep area, the pectoral region, just the kind of thing I would expect in a human body, but it's a horse. I mean, they're both mammals. I would assume they're somewhat similar. So after I got to a point where I was satisfied with the way the general body of the Pegasus looked, I then switched over to the mane. And this is where I kind of got stumped because I wasn't sure what color I wanted to make the mane. I was considering maybe a more golden color. I the first thing I was the first thing I thought of was trying to make the Pegasus look like the Pegasus from Hercules, where it had a more dark blue mane and tail, and it just didn't look right to me, so I just kept adding colors until I got something that I liked, and I kept throwing in strokes here and there, curly strokes to make it look like individual hairs, and eventually it got to a point where I really liked the way it looked. It was just a bunch of rainbow colors together, and a chromatic rainbowy mane really fit with the pearlescent body that I created, so I thought that I would double down on that kind of idea. I did find the rainbowy color to be a little bit too vibrant, so I went through and added some darker blue on top of that to make it a bit more dark and muted. And yeah, overall I think that section of the project turned out really nice. I think the most daunting part of the project was creating the wings. I really was unsure about what I wanted to do with the wings, so I quickly went through and colored in the hooves and erased a bit of the outline to make it look a bit more realistic, outlines around the legs and the arms. And I wanted to make it so that depth the depth and shape of the horse was created by the shading that I added rather than the hard lines I put in early on. So then I started on the wings, and I started coloring the first row of feathers with a more chromatic rainbow design that I kind of wanted to continue along with the mane and tail. I thought that a rainbow design would look really nice on the wings as well. But I think the hard lines between each of the feathers was making it really hard to color it in a way that looked really nice. So eventually I kind of scrapped the whole thing I did here and started again. I decided that I wanted to make the rainbow colors come in more on the outer wings, the bigger, sharper feathers on the outside. And because I wanted them to stand out from the rest of the wing design, I decided to make the inner feathers of the wings a similar kind of pearlescent coloration to the rest of the body. Well, at least I made the innermost feathers more pearlescent. The second layer of feathers I made a more lavender bluish color, which I thought it looked really nice. It's a nice transition color between the pearlescent coloration of those feathers and then the eventual rainbow coloration of the outermost feathers. I then finished up the design that I started on the right wing on the left wing. I mean, like anatomically, the right wing of the horse, and then the left wing of the horse as well. Whatever. I wasn't 100% sure what to do on the outermost feathers yet, so I started by coloring them a light shade of yellow, and then I began drawing over them until I got something I liked. I started putting in colors in the Roy G. Biv color order, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple on the outskirts of the feathers, and then to kind of blend it all together, I put a light amount of white above it all and some darker shading to add some depth and distinguishing features between each of the feathers. I also added light strokes of white throughout along each of the feathers to kind of give it a I don't really know how to describe it. It's kind of like a crystalline design. I thought it looked really nice. Then, of course, I mirrored that design on the right wing as well, and altogether, I think it came out looking pretty darn cool. I forgot to mention that I also based the design of the wings off of hummingbird wings. Again, I used a reference image, looked up bird wings, and yeah, I thought that would look really cool on the body of a horse, and I think it does. And then with all of the color spilling off of both of the wings, I went through and manually erased between each of the feathers to keep that color within the design of the wings. And with that, my full body Pegasus drawing was complete.